Welcome to One Tired Teacher, episode 63, Podcasting for Teachers. Where do I start? So today we are talking about podcasting with the kids, like using your kids to create a podcast. And the question is, where do you begin? I'm going to be answering that today. I'm going to be giving you a little bit of information about how to start podcasting with your students. We've been talking about podcasting for the last couple of weeks and why you should do it and how it engages your students. And today I'm going to give you some tips and tricks on getting started. I hope you stick around.
Welcome to One Tired Teacher. And even though she may need a nap, this teacher is ready to wake up and speak her truth about the trials and treasures of teaching. Here she is, wide awake. Wait, she's not asleep right now, is she? She is awake, right? Okay. From Trina Debery Teaching and Learning, your host, Trina Debery.
Hey! So I'm excited because you know how excited I am about podcasting and what the power of podcasting and what I think that it can do for your students and in your classroom. I love that it is a piece of technology that is meaningful and can actually enhance your instruction. And that's when I think technology really has the power to make a difference in our classroom. Not just for the sake of integrating technology and not for the sake of like busying their mind with more and more time on their devices, but actually taking your content that you're already teaching and enhancing it and making it relevant and meaningful. That is when you really capture the attention of your students. And I love that part. So I'm excited to be talking more about podcasting this week, and I'll be talking more about podcasting next week. So I hope that you'll join me. Before we go any further, I want to invite you to join me for a virtual professional development situation or experience, or if you say a learning opportunity. I will be hosting a workshop on February 17th at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And yes, if you're not able to make it live, which live is the best, I have to say, because then you get questions answered right then in the moment. But if you're not able to make it live, there will be a replay option. And during this exciting virtual PD, which will be about no more than 2 hours, probably about an hour and a half, I'm thinking. It is going to be a really exciting time where we dive into some of the specifics, the how-tos and the specifics of having a podcast in your classroom. What happens when you're listening to podcasts, some actual advice and some resources that will help you get started assessing standards while you're using podcasts, where every student is having the chance to listen and have access to the text. They have access by listening. It deepens their comprehension and it holds kids' attention, and it's really exciting. So we'll be talking about that, but we will also be talking about step by step how to implement podcasting with your students, which is an excellent alternative for kids to show what they know. That's one of the power of one of the things that I think is so powerful about podcasting. So in this professional development, teachers will walk away knowing how to integrate podcasts into their instruction and also utilize student-created podcasts in their classroom to increase the level of engagement and offer alternative assessment options. That is what you will walk away with. And I'm really excited about this. It's on February 17th, which is President's Day. So if you have the day off, it's a perfect opportunity for you to join a little bit of virtual PD and be ready to implement the very next day. So I think you're going to absolutely love it. And again, if you are not available live, you can still register and you'll get the replay and everything that comes with the replay. So it is really one of a kind. I'm going to show you how to integrate the meaningful technology. I'm going to share the how to and the what you need to successfully start listening to or creating podcasts. I'm going to provide access to all that you need to start for the very next day. I'm going to help you understand that teachers need technology to both be impactful and straightforward, and it's going to recognize that students need alternative ways to show what they know. So if you're ready to integrate podcasting into your instruction or even listening to podcasts in your classroom, then you're not going to want to miss Podcasting School for Teachers. I'm so excited. Podcasting School for Teachers will answer so many of your questions about podcasts and podcasting. And I am giving you 100% guarantee that if you are not able to walk away with learning at least one thing, then I am offering you your money back. And this is a very reasonable offer because I wanted to make it reasonable for teachers because I feel so strongly about putting podcasts into the classroom. So it's pretty exciting. I really hope that you will take the opportunity to join this virtual PD. You're going to be getting tons of resources that you can take back. That's all part of the experience, and you will walk away with a lot of valuable information. I hope that you will register and you will join me. You can find that at TrinaDeBry.com, and when you go to my website, it has a little tab that says Podcasting School for Teacherpreneurs. If you click on that, then it will take you to the registration. So I hope that you will join me for that. I'm excited. So that's something that's coming, and the tab is available so you can register anytime, and I hope that you will come and we can learn together. It'll be very exciting. All right, so that's something I just wanted to let you know that was available. But today I'm going to give you a little bit of information about how you can get started. And so maybe you can begin to see how valuable podcasting is in the classroom. So let's talk about it. So here we are, Podcasting for Teachers. Where do I start? So if you are ready for your students to be jumping up and down to do research, read, engage in learning, then you are going to need to grab an enthusiastic teacher, which is hopefully yourself, a group of motivated students, and any type of technology that records audio. And you have a recipe for success. And yes, I said any kind of equipment because it can be any kind of tablet, an iPhone, an Android phone, an Android tablet, an iPad, even a computer will work. Anything that can capture your voice is a device that can work in your classroom. It does not have to be complicated technology. So that's one thing that sometimes holds people back. They think, oh my goodness, I have to have a microphone and I have to have this big elaborate setup. And you don't have to have all those things because number one, it doesn't have to be perfect because you're doing it with kids. And number two, there are cheaper options. I go into that specifically in Podcasting School for Teachers. So just so you know that we actually speak specifically about that, but don't let that be the thing that stops you because it doesn't have to be complicated. It really doesn't. And I know a lot of times when we're integrating technology, we're like, oh my goodness, it's, something isn't working, something goes wrong. We don't have time to troubleshoot with the kids there. And we're like, and it's crazy. Or we think, oh, this is too old. We can't do it with our kindergartners or we can't do it with our younger students. And we totally can. I had one-to-one iPads in my classroom and we were making iMovies and we were doing all kinds of really cool stuff with technology, to actually enhance our learning. And the kids, every time I got nervous about something, I just jumped in and I let the kids just jump in. And I'm telling you, the kids knew more than I did in a matter of 5 minutes. I mean, it was really, really unbelievable. But it doesn't have to be complicated. That's the thing to keep in mind. It doesn't have to be. And I've been doing a little bit of research about the power of podcasting with students. And what I found is that it makes a huge impact according to this learning and teaching research that was done by a by, what was it? The Learning and Teaching Library scholarly research. Yes, it's scholarly research. So if you have to have scholarly research to back up your findings when you're implementing something, and maybe this would even be something great for a PDP, like how you're going to implement meaningful technology. And maybe you'd even go so far as to saying podcasts in the classroom, because the research findings published in an article titled Evaluation of the Effectiveness of Podcasting in Teaching and Learning by Swanson Lakhal. I think that's how you say it, Lakhal. They say the conclusion of Lakhal's research, and I'm just going to give you the conclusion because I'm not going to give you the whole entire breakdown, but the one line conclusion that made me say, oh yes, I can do this because it's scholarly research. I'm backing it up. And the conclusion was, the results of the study indicate that the students who listened to podcasts demonstrated deeper learning and greater satisfaction than those who did not. So there you go. The research is in. It's actually a meaningful practice. And that was talking specifically about kids listening to podcasts. So imagine if we took it a step further and we allowed them to create the content, whether that is through research, whether that is through storytelling, whether that is through interviewing one another. There's so many standards that we hit upon when we're doing that. We want them to find research or answer questions specifically to a content-based or text-dependent question, and we're allowing them to dig in and really find the answers. They have to create a script or a bullet point or something like that. So they're writing, they're researching, they're working together as a community because they have certain jobs, which I actually go really into specifically in podcasting school for teachers. And we are allowing them to, do some listening and speaking and editing and thinking about who their audience is, and the list goes on. So let's say you've decided to start a podcast with your kids. Where do you start exactly? And that is the big question. So the first place that you start, and this is a really powerful step, is you begin by explaining what podcasting is to your students, because sometimes you will have kids that don't necessarily know, which is always shocking to me that there's something out there that kids don't know yet. But I think it's because they haven't realized the potential. They've got it on YouTube. They're hooked on YouTube, but podcasting, and they love to listen to music. So podcasting can be the thing that they also gravitate towards. A lot of people don't even know where to find their podcasting button on their devices, maybe some adults. I don't know if kids know that or not, but some adults don't. And I actually show you exactly where that is in podcasting school for teachers, because, even my own friends were like, I didn't even know there was a button on my iPhone. So I just think that's so funny. But, it's okay, because it's something that's been around for a while, but some of us have just taken a little bit longer to come to. And that's all right, because it's all over the place. People are talking about it on TV. Famous people are doing podcasts, and some of them are doing it, for kids. And I mentioned that last week about Kobe Bryant, which, I taped that episode before the tragic event that occurred, and I don't want to take it down a negative path, but it was just, what an incredible legend in basketball and just in life. And he had created a podcast for kids, The Punies, and I have no idea what will be the fate of that podcast. But I will say that I want to take a moment and recognize his family and all the things that he did as a mentor for kids and as a role model. So I spoke about that before that had happened. I was, recorded that episode before that tragic event, but it's very sad. It's really sad. So, but there are plenty of people that are doing podcasts for kids and with kids, and it's exciting, and we've got to hold on to that part of it. And, that may be one of his legacies, that younger kids that may not even know who that is, they may, find out through that adorable podcast. So, as I was saying, it is a really great cooperative learning structure that you can use to create podcast, like maybe even a round table, which allows students to go around a table and express their thinking about what a podcast is or what it isn't. This is something that you can do when you're explaining what a podcast is, getting kids talking, getting kids engaged, and it gives you really valuable information because do they know what it is? Do you need to give them more information? Do they need an example? Like you always want to get an idea of what they already know before you explain, because it allows you to really see and evaluate what they already are thinking and you build upon that. Also explain to kids that podcasts come in all shapes and sizes and tell them that is the great news for them because it means that they have lots of room to be creative and make something that they are excited about. And like some podcasts are longer, like for example, a podcast episode that I mentioned in the top 10 podcast shows that I gave a freebie away last week in last week's show, and it was a top 10, and I'll put it in the show notes again if you didn't grab it because it has some excellent podcasts on it. One of them is called Forever Ago and Brains On. They can be longer episodes. I mean, sometimes up to 55 minutes, which is a long time, and you probably wouldn't have your kids listening from beginning to end for 55 minutes, but you could definitely break that into chunks. I mean, that could be a podcast you use throughout the entire week. But there's other podcasts like Highlights, Hangout, and Chompers, which can be just a few minutes. They're getting like a few minutes of information, which is pretty exciting. There's a very popular podcast that I know our fourth grade teachers listen to at my school, and it's called 6 Minutes, and they love it, and the kids love it. So that's another great one, which can be done in really small, bite-sized chunks. All right, so step number 2 when you're getting started. Share examples of podcasts. I think this is the key. And the reason I say that is because I think that the kids will love to know that some podcasts are like news show. It kind of gives them options so that they can hear what they like and what they don't like, what resonates with them. Like the news shows may have guests and you might do it like a broadcast. Some podcasts tell stories. Lots are really funny, and kids love to be funny, especially when they think that they're playing or they're performing for an audience. I love to watch younger kids like come alive, even older kids come alive when they think that they're performing. So that can be really fun. Some feature people having conversations. Many are educational. They teach listeners about a specific topic. And guess what? I have a great list of podcasts that I've already mentioned, and I'm going to tell you again. So I'm going to link to it in the show notes. You can grab it. It's a free list of really great podcasts that I've acquired. And in the school of podcasting school for teachers, I also offer 2 more lists on some really great podcasts, one on fictional podcasts and one on informational podcasts. That way that you can separate your standards-based instruction based on the literature standards or based on the informational text standards. All right. Step number 3. Step number 3 is find the right recording equipment. That is the thing that people go, oh, I can't do it. I don't have the equipment. I don't have a microphone. And that's the beauty. You don't need fancy equipment to make a podcast. You can simply use a smartphone or a device or even a computer. And in podcasting school for teachers, I talk about specifically where you can find things. I mean, there's some really cheap options, or you don't even have to use one at all. You just want to have a place that kids can talk into the device. So that's the other beauty of it. It you don't have to go crazy, especially if you're not doing this you may be doing it for a global audience. You may be doing it for other kids to hear kids. You may also be doing it for your parents. I think that would be such a cool idea. Having the kids do the newsletter information, like a news broadcast every week live from, your classroom. I think that's really cool. But your parents, other kids, other teachers, even principals, they're not picky about things like that. So it doesn't have to be professionally done. If we were talking about doing one professionally, it's a totally different conversation. And in that case, you would want a nice mic, but that's not what we're talking about. So that's okay. All right, let's move on to step number 4. Start thinking about show options. So that's a really important thing because there are so many different types of shows, and you're going to want your kids to start brainstorming the type of show they want, that they would like to record. And they will want to think about what they want to say and how they want to say it. Will they use a news format? Will they tell jokes on their topic? Will it be two friends having a chat? Like, what type of format do you want? And again, I go into more extensive conversations about show formats and podcasting school for teachers. This is also a great time to be thinking about teaching storyboarding. And how great is that? Because when you're talking about writing and getting kids to write almost on accident, where they don't even realize they're writing, or they're using visuals to create the writing, you're offering a different learning style in that case. So storyboarding doesn't have to be this extensive writing, and that's the thing that can be really helpful about that. But you're going over those kind of things with kids, and you're teaching students how to ask questions, which is, another skill, another standard. And it's necessary. And then editing, you're teaching kids to edit a podcast. And now this is the time that it brings all these learning topics together, and they're learning things that you've been trying to teach them to do in writing, but now they're doing with their voice, which can be so powerful for younger kids, especially when they're struggling to get written print on a piece of paper, and they are so much more likely to be able to tell you about it than they are to actually put it down. We still want kids writing, of course, but this is the beginning stages of really getting them to write. There are so many options in the world of podcasting. And for now, getting your kids excited and motivated is really the key. Because as the research says, kids learn more and listen deeper to a podcast than to other mediums. I think that's pretty powerful. And this is just the beginning of podcasting. And again, in the next week or so, I will be talking some more about podcasting and some of the elements of podcasting. And I go really deeply into this and give you the specific how-to step-by-step in podcasting school for teachers, which is my live virtual professional development session on February 17th at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I hope you'll join me. You can find that at TrinaDebreTeachingandLearning.com, Podcasting School for Teachers, and you can register for the live workshop. If you can't come live, there will be a replay. You will have access to that and all the goodies that it encompasses. I hope that you will join me. Okay. I'm excited. I hope you are excited too, because I hope you're really beginning to start to see the potential that podcasts and podcasting has in your classroom. Until next time, this one tired teacher is lit up inside because we're talking about meaningful technology integration, and that just gets me really pumped. Until next time, sweet dreams and sleep tight.